This week on Tech News Weekly, we take a look at what's going on with Google's gaming system. Disney Plus, was it hacked? And get ready for holiday shopping. Coming up next.
Podcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
This is Tech News Weekly, episode 109, recorded Thursday, November 21st, 2019.
This episode of Tech News Weekly is brought to you by IT Pro TV. IT Pro TV provides IT training that's effective and entertaining with access to virtual labs and practice tests. Visit go.itpro.tv/TNW for an additional 30% off for the lifetime of your active subscription. Use code TNW30 at checkout.
And by FreshBooks, the #1 accounting software in the cloud for self-employed professionals and their teams. Make the running of your business simple and efficient with FreshBooks. Try it for free 30 days at freshbooks.com/TNW.
And by Worldwide Technology. Worldwide Technology's Advanced Technology Center is like no other testing and research lab, with over 150 different security services and applications, including OEMs like Cisco Umbrella. And it's virtual, so you can access it 24/7. To learn more and get insights into all that it offers, go to wwt.com/twit.
Hello and welcome to Tech News Weekly, the show where every week we talk to and about the people making and breaking the tech news. I am Aunt Pruitt.
And I'm Mikah Sargent. Hello, Aunt.
Mr. Sargent, how you doing?
I'm doing peachy keen. Yeah. Peachy keen, as it were. I am very pumped though because we have to talk. You know, this new service came out, Disney Plus.
Oh, what's that? I kid.
No. A new streaming service comes out, Disney Plus, and one of the first things that I see, it was a report from ZDNet. It says thousands of hacked Disney Plus accounts are already for sale on hacking forums.
It just came out.
Yeah, it just got here. It just came out. And I saw this great article on Android Central from somebody I happen to know, Phil Nickinson, who is here to join us and discuss what's going on. Hello, Phil.
Micah, sir, how are you?
Oh, I'm doing great, and we are happy to have you here. So let's just get right into it. Has Disney Plus been hacked?
I have absolutely no idea. Here's what's going on. As soon as Disney Plus went live, it essentially had 10 million plus subscribers right then, as soon as things went live on the 12th. That includes everybody, including myself, who signed up ahead of time and got a deal or whatever. It includes the people who signed up on day one, and it includes the people who signed up and found they couldn't get into their accounts for some reason. So go back to day one and remember, Disney also had some relatively serious tech problems that kept people from signing in or kept them from being able to watch. And combine that with, lo and behold, all these accounts showing up either on the dark web or eBay or where things like this are sold, right? So ZDNet did a pretty good story on it. I had a few questions after reading it, though. And one was, did Disney Plus really get hacked? Or were people just using bad password hygiene? One of those two things is a lot more likely than the other. And they mentioned all this. They talked about it. And they threw a third thing into the mix, which I also think is possible. And that is, well, maybe somebody just has a keylogger on their computer and it's sniffing up every single password they ever type in. Also possible, probably a little less likely.
Yeah.
Really, what the problem is, I think, and I don't have numbers to back this up, and the ZDNet story didn't have numbers to back it up either. So I think we need to keep things in context. We'll talk about that in a second. But the bigger problem is people reusing passwords. And why is that? Let's say you use Phil123 as your password on Netflix.
I do.
And Netflix gets hacked. You do. It's a horrible password. Please change it. And say Netflix gets hacked, and now they have your email address and your password for that service, and somebody's going to say, that's a pretty simple password, and people are pretty lazy. I'm going to start trying that all over the place and see what happens. It's called credential stuffing. I'm willing to bet in the vast majority of cases that's what happened here. Now go back to the context of the matter, right? 10 million plus subscribers. My question is the number of quote unquote hacked accounts more or less appropriate for that number of subscriptions? I have no idea. Disney's not going to tell us either.
Right.
So I don't know if this is abnormal for that for that sort of scale, or if this is absolutely what Disney would expect. I think it would also be fair to say, Phil, you're blaming the victim here. It's not their fault that somebody got their password from other services. And I would say, well, actually, the fault lies on both sides. It doesn't make it okay to steal people's passwords. But we as users have a responsibility because the internet is built backwards. It's not built for security. It's built to be open. And then they decided later, hey, passwords are probably a good idea. We have to employ basic password hygiene that involves not reusing the same password ever. Using strong, unique passwords, right? Use a password manager of some sort. The best password is the password you don't even know. And it's that basic sort of thing that will generally 9 times out of 10 keep most people out of trouble.
Mm-hmm. Now, one of the things that's kind of confusing to me then, so is the idea here that these accounts, somebody just sort of went and said, okay, well, because I have james@gmail.com and the password is Phil123 for some reason, I'm just going to assume that that's also a Disney Plus password, and then I'm sort of publishing this all as a list of Disney Plus passwords that I have. How are the people that are claiming that they have all of these Disney Plus accounts, how are they verifying that those are actually Disney Plus accounts if it didn't come straight from the Disney Plus service?
I have no idea, which is why I would recommend not buying hacked passwords off the dark web. You are trusting criminals to not lie to you. But that's how it works, right? So they get one, they try it out and says, oh, this thing works here, so let's sell it to somebody else. Now, it's kind of a dumb thing to think about the scale at which you and I would work, right? If I want a hacked Disney Plus password, why don't I just get a $7 Disney Plus account myself?
Right.
Because sooner or later, somebody's going to figure this out. But for the seller, it makes total sense, especially if they're doing this at scale, right? They're the ones who are going to make money. You're not actually going to save anything. It's a problem. And again, I think a good part of the blame lies on us, the users. Sorry, that's just the way the internet works. It's not fair. It's not right. But that's the way it works. That's not to say Disney can't do some things. There's an excellent service called Have I Been Pwned that tracks data breaches. And if your username and password gets caught up in a data breach, it can alert you and say, hey, this thing's out there. You probably want to change that password. They have an API that companies can use to ingest all of that information. Google actually has something like that built into Chrome now. Plenty of other services do too. If Disney had employed that, when you signed up for your account, james@gmail.com, Phil123, Disney Plus could have said, hey, actually, that's not really a good password. You shouldn't use that. Let's try something else. So there's that. There's two-factor authentication, which I go back and forth on whether I care about Disney Plus having that or not. Ideally, every service should have two-factor authentication. I'm a huge proponent of that. I will talk till I'm blue in the face about it. But for a consumer service like this, it's a really high wall for your grandmother to try the first time. So I absolutely get, from a services standpoint, why it doesn't have two-factor authentication. There's also the fact that Disney Plus really doesn't care about password sharing right now. You know, the old thing where your parents want to, check out Disney Plus, you give them your account. Or there's the matter of, my daughters want to use Disney Plus on their devices. Mm-hmm. Do I really need to make them, create an account? Or the profiles that Disney Plus has just isn't set up for that sort of thing yet. So that's a bigger deal that they just haven't done yet. There are ways to mitigate it, and Disney still can employ some. But right now, the best thing you can do is just don't use a password over and over again. Please, I beg you.
I'm going to side with you, Ms. Nickinson, with putting the responsibility on the user and not necessarily putting it on Disney or any of these other services. The question I have is if these hackers, if you will, have grabbed these passwords that are essentially working because they grabbed it from somewhere else, why hasn't anybody thought about looking into what these other sites that were potentially compromised and trying to get that squared away. I think that's just an issue of the type of customers that we're dealing with these days. Of they're using password 123 or using Mickey Mouse 8, 9, 10 or what have you for their passwords and don't really think about, you know what, I should probably look at my other services. I should probably look at Netflix and make sure that password is good to go too. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it comes back to the internet being built backwards. It was built open without any security. And you would think in 2019, with a brand new service, they would have thought of that and said, you know, we need to do a little bit here to protect our customers. And I wish Disney had, and I will absolutely fault them for not doing just a little bit more to try to protect people from that. What can they do in the meantime? That's the big question, right? How are they helping all of these people who couldn't log in on day one because they'd already signed up, but somebody else had already taken over their account somehow? That I don't know. And again, it comes back to what sort of scale are we talking about? Are we really talking about thousands? Are we talking about thousands? I just have no idea how many people, or if it's a small number or a relatively small, quote unquote, acceptable number. It doesn't make it okay, but from that point of view, I get it. Is that just the cost of doing business? Maybe it is. I really hope Disney takes care of the people who have had problems. It's an excellent service, great shows so far, great content. This is the future of watching video online. It's just a shame to see these sorts of headaches on day one.
You said great shows. What shows are you speaking of, sir?
Ooh.
Well, I've only actually watched The Mandalorian over and over so far.
Over
and
over?
More than one show?
That's the one with Baby Yoda, right?
Spoilers!
Wait a minute.
Whoa! Oh, my Lord. I've just upset so many people. Okay, to be fair, it's not actually Yoda, so no one thought it was Yoda. It was all over Twitter. Come on. It's been everywhere. Oh,
I
my
haven't
Lord.
seen it.
The world. I'm going to go. It's been great. I got to change my Mickey Mouse 8910 password, too. Wow. Yeah. Sorry, everybody. Ding. So... what this boils down to, it seems, is because I think that you really kind of condensed down the important factor when I'm trying to convince someone why a password manager is a good idea or why turning on two-factor authentication is a good idea, which, by the way, you were talking about your grandma using two-factor the first time. I have to say I'm very proud of my grandma. She loves two-factor authentication, uses it everywhere. So props to Grams for that. But it is trying to explain the reason for that can be complicated, but it is the idea that whatever account it was, if you went online and got like a replacement piece for your vertical blinds in your kitchen on some website, fixyourverticalblinds.com, and you use the same password there as you use on your very well protected Gmail account and your very well protected bank account, well, you're only, of course, the cliche, you're only as strong as your weakest link. And therefore, if the site goes after that weak, or that the hacker goes after that weak site and gets your password, then they've got access to so much more. And really trying to drill that point in is difficult. And I'm curious, does it take breaches like this, where the general public is most impacted, for that realization to take place? I mean, is that the one silver lining of this? If you could have a silver lining, is that the silver lining here with the Disney Plus hack?
I would say humans in general and Americans specifically are really good at reacting to things, but not necessarily doing the right thing in advance. This is the sort of thing I think you have to start teaching in school, and earlier the better. I mean, password security and sex education are the two things we as Americans have failed at, and we really got to do something about both of them. I have young daughters, 9 and 13. We talk about this sort of thing, and we also talk about passwords. It's a part of growing up, and it's really weird to think about because I'm not that old, but it's this whole new generation that has to be taught these things from the beginning, and the sooner the better.
Wow, I think that's really well put. Phil Nickinson, Mr. Modern Dad. I want to thank you for joining us. If people want to follow you online, check out the work that you do, all that jazz, where can they do so?
I'm still all over the place, but moderndad.com will get you links to all of it. That's nice and easy.
Awesome. Beautiful. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you. Say hey to Grams for me.
We'll do that. Coming up, now that folks have had the chance to use Google, is it Stadia? Stambalam. Google Stadia.
There's a Y in it. Stadia.
Google Stadia. We thought we'd talk to Android Central's Russell Hawley about his thoughts on the new streaming platform. But first, I thank Ant for his patience, and I'm excited to tell you that this episode of Tech News Weekly is brought to you by IT Pro TV. You can enjoy learning with IT Pro TV's edutainers who blend education and entertainment to make learning IT engaging and fun in an interactive talk show format, which, I mean, if you're watching this, then you're probably into that kind of thing. It is a big month for Microsoft announcements, and you can use IT Pro TV to get the certs you need to become a Microsoft professional. IT Pro TV has more than 800 hours of Microsoft training, including Microsoft Azure. IT Pro TV is so versatile, they can help you and your team get certified IT training in all sectors. That's government, managed services, healthcare, education, tech, finance, insurance, and so much more. They are the official video training partner for CompTIA, and they have 12 CompTIA on-demand courses, including CompTIA A+, Network Plus, and Security Plus certs. Become part of IT Pro TV's family with either a standard membership that gets you the videos or a premium membership that gets you the videos plus labs and practice tests so you can really put that work to the test. Don't wait. Visit go.itpro.tv/TNW and use the code TNW30 and you're going to get 30% off. That's go.itpro.tv/TNW and use code TNW30 for an additional 30% off for the lifetime of your active subscription. IT Pro TV, build or expand your IT career and enjoy the journey.
All right. So Google Stadia, is it bad? Is it good? Is it new, or is it a combination of all three of those? Well, Google promised a great new gaming experience that would not only open up mainstream gaming to Chromebook users, but also mobile gaming with powerful smartphones. Russell Hawley of Android Central joins us to shed some light on yet another, dare I say, lackluster product launch. How's it going, Mr. Hawley?
Hey, I'm doing well. How are you?
I am unbelievable as always here at twit.tv. And Google Stadia is making quite a bit of noise, if you will. We have our nice little beautiful box here, but I can't say that everybody's been so excited about this new gaming service for Google. What are your... I'm not letting you hold this. Give me. What are your thoughts on it? I know you've been online and seen quite a few passionate discussions, if you will, about Google's new gaming services.
I think Stadia would be great if what we got was the stuff that got announced earlier this year at GDC. But that's not what happened. As it turns out, the mission that we got on stage at GDC, how it was going to be this fantastic service with all of these incredible features, including being able to share your game state with someone in such that a way that they would be able to just sort of hop in and play with you at some point. A lot of those features don't exist yet, and the answer for why they don't exist yet from the Stadia team is that this is meant to be living software, that it is improved on a weekly basis in the same cadence that Google Chrome is updated, which sounds really exciting to have something that is just kind of constantly getting new features and improving and getting better. But it helps to sell that from the beginning and not the day that you launch it. Now, after having promised a lot of other features.
This living software quote, is that code for beta?
Oh, it's absolutely what it feels like. This is something, there are just a lot of things about this that don't feel fully baked. For example, you can play with your controller hooked up to your Chromecast wirelessly, but you cannot play the same way hooked up to your phone. If you want to play Stadia on your phone, you need a cable that connects from the USB Type-C port on the controller to the USB Type-C port on a Pixel 3 or Pixel 3a or Pixel 4.
Because gamers love wires, right?
Because gamers are really excited about wires. And to make things a little more curious, there is a cable in the box for the Stadia kit that you're holding. That cable is a USB Type-C to USB Type-A.
What? So I can't even use this for the system.
And the cable that comes in the box does not connect to the phone in order to play Stadia. Really kind of curious.
Now, I'm so this only the thing that I was curious about, the Stadia system currently only works with Pixel devices, right?
It works with Pixel devices or
Chromecast.
the Chromecast Ultra, specifically the Chromecast Ultra.
Only the one.
Specifically, and even more specifically, only the Chromecast Ultra that comes in the box with the Founders Kit for now.
You're kidding.
I didn't know that detail. I thought it was any Chromecast Ultra.
There is going to be a firmware update very soon that will roll out to all of the Chromecast Ultras in order to make it so that they are all Stadia compliant. As of right now, my Chromecast Ultra, which is connected to the television in my living room, does not work with Stadia.
So did they just roll this out too soon? What happened here?
That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like there was an arbitrary deadline, and it feels like they rushed to get that deadline out before the holiday, and then a lot of stuff just didn't fall into place. The week before Stadia was official, they made this game announcement of all the games that were going to be available on Stadia, and it was 12 titles, which is a little underwhelming when you consider some of the competition that's available today. But they were good titles, including some of the things we had seen from early beta. So it wasn't a bad thing. It was just a little on the light side. And before the official launch happened, the response was so negative that the people from Stadia made a separate announcement just yesterday, or the day before yesterday, that increased that number of launch titles to 22. Now, a lot of the other games that got added are a little less noteworthy, rather,
right.
In their importance. But it's kind of indicative of how it feels like this organization is kind of moving in these occasional sprints instead of releasing kind of polished things, in time.
Now, we talked a little bit about this on This Week in Google yesterday, but I wanted to ask you, who is Google targeting with this particular product? You have your extreme hardcore gamers, you have those gamers that are sort of middle of the road, and then you have those gamers like me that can barely play Candy Crush.
Hey, that's me too.
So here's the more that I think about Stadia, the more that I feel like it is that kind of middle of the road gamer, but more importantly, it is the middle of the road gamer who just does not have time to maintain a full game console. One of the most common things that I see, kind of being steeped in the game world every single day is when a great big new game comes out, the frustration attached to installing and maintaining that game. For example, Red Dead Redemption 2 just came out. It was over 100 gigabytes to install on a PC. And then when it installed, it didn't work on a lot of PCs. The launch was actually just fraught with errors, and it took a lot of work in order to get a lot of systems up and running. It was a mess. Stadia would never have any of those problems because it's a cloud instance. You don't have to worry about an install time. You don't have to worry about any kind of maintenance on your computer to make sure that it's running. You can sit down on your couch after a hard day's work and go, I want to play that game. And it unlocks at 11:59 tonight. So I'm just going to push a button, and at 11:59, the game is just available to play. All of your things are saved in the cloud. All of your game data can move from one system to another. So if you decide that you want to play somewhere else, you can. And that, I feel like, is the goal. It is not so much approaching a specific class of gamer, not like it's not a question of the hardcore gamer versus the simplistic simple gamer.
Okay.
It's the zero friction gamer. It's the person who just wants to sit down and play, who doesn't want to go through a lot of work to maintain the game, who doesn't feel like they should have to sit for 4 hours while their broadband connection downloads 100 gigabytes to play the game. It's that instant gratification, zero friction experience is what Stadia targets. And I feel like once they get it off the ground, it'll do that really well.
Our technical director found this article while we've been talking about how apparently there are some Chromecast Ultra units that are part of this system that while you're playing are overheating and shutting down.
Oh,
yeah.
Yep.
So what's going on there? The reason I ask is because I thought that the whole point was that the 62 teraflops of processing power were all happening on the other side of things, not
right.
on the Chromecast dongle itself. So why do I have a little mini pancake maker connected to my HD TV?
Yeah, so the HD TV is still streaming, the actual, data, transferring that 4K content and in this case, actually streaming not only the 4K content, but also transmitting the content from the controller in this kind of sync. And the Chromecast Ultra is a really powerful little hockey puck that plugs into the back of your television, but it's actually never done this level of work before. And so this is kind of a unique level of push from this device to begin with. And I think it's difficult to track down exactly what's happening here because it's not something we've been able to recreate through any of our testing. And the people at Google are trying to figure out exactly what's going on to see what could be happening here. But one of the suspicions that we've been working on is it actually is associated with people who are playing the game system when connected to Ethernet. Instead of a truly wireless system, which is actually something that Stadia recommends, that you use an Ethernet cable connected to your Chromecast Ultra to get the best possible connection. But sense. In doing so, you're increasing dramatically the kind of data throughput and processing that's happening locally on that system. And I think that could be part of what's contributing to this. But we don't have enough information to be sure yet.
Yeah, and see, you said frictionless for the gaming standpoint, and that doesn't sound frictionless to me, because number one, you're having to plug in an Ethernet cable regardless of wherever your network infrastructure is set up in your house. Number two, you're paying for 4K quality, and everybody's not going to be able to get that, whether it's their own home internal network isn't up to snuff or Google's infrastructure just isn't ready for that. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, that's essentially what this comes down to, is that the promise of Stadia is this kind of frictionless experience, and it's clear from the launch that they're just not there yet. There's a lot of kind of individual hurdles here that are still being sorted out in order to reach, that point. It is close enough, I think, for some people, but that's the problem, right? You can't call it frictionless if it only works well for tech savvy people. That's the opposite of frictionless. Boom. So that's kind of where we're at right now. Is if you're kind of a techie person who wants to be on the bleeding edge of something new, then you could be very excited about Stadia, but that's not supposed to be the intended audience here.
Now, does this mean so? I think I saw you in a hero image for an article that was posted on Android Central talking about, and let me see if I can't find it while I'm talking here. Essentially, that despite the fact that it's got some early hangups, we can't count out Google Stadia so quickly. And this is kind of the big concern here. Despite the fact that we've got early issues with this system, I love the idea. What is it? xCloud, I think, is Microsoft's version. Yep. I love the idea of, like you're talking about, this frictionless gaming experience. I'm not a gamer in the slightest. I think I have maybe 2 video games on my phone. But for the folks who do like to just, the idea of being able to be on the subway or the BART system, I don't know what it's called, and you're playing a game, and then you can come home and sit in front of your big TV and play that game. I think that's fantastic. And you're synced right to the exact place you were, whether you're on mobile data or you're on Wi-Fi or you're on the new 5Gs of LTEW. Right. It doesn't matter what it is, you can still game. And I think that is a great idea. So can we talk about what are the positives that you've seen from this platform, and sort of what is the promise for the future, so to speak, other than the beautiful controller and its little pops of color? I love Google's pops of color.
I do want to take a second and admire the hardware team responsible for the controller, because not only are they beautiful, I see that you've got the blue one. I actually went for what they call the wasabi color, and it's got those kind of like rain color underneath, and I dig this a lot.
I like how it feels too.
It feels great, and when you actually go to use it, Micah, there's actually some really dramatic vibration inside the controller.
No way.
It's very, very good. The haptic feedback, I think, is actually probably my favorite of any controller that I've used recently.
Oh, I have to try this now, because I'm a sucker for haptic feedback.
Yeah, so that I think, like, when you first turn this thing on, you'll really like the way that it feels to go and use. And that's the thing, is that, like, there are a lot of individual spots of promise here. They've thought through a couple of things that are really fascinating. The first thing that they've thought through is the way that you go and connect it to a Chromecast, in very much the same way that someone can just kind of play something to an Apple TV. You can do the same thing to a Chromecast from anything that's on that network. That causes a problem when you are playing a game and someone accidentally pushes the wrong button and sends something to the TV that you're playing on. Then all of a sudden you're not playing your game anymore. The Stadia system is actually aware of this being a possibility and will freeze your game state for up to 15 minutes so that you can quickly either move to another television or connect your phone or do something like that. The game that you're playing in the cloud actually stays paused for up to 15 minutes so that you can quickly come back and do the thing that you were doing. And I think that from a technical perspective, that's actually really impressive, to be aware enough that is happening and make sure that it doesn't completely mess up your game in progress. I think that's a really important thing to have. And along those same lines, we know that the Stadia team is working with several different teams on accessibility features that are not just individual title accessibility features, but are actually designed to be a platform layer for accessibility. So when these accessibility features, it is important to point out that they are not available yet, and they have not fully described what they are. But Stadia's goal is to make the accessibility parts of its platform something that reach every single game that is on the platform and not just individual titles.
Now I look forward to seeing that.
Mm-hmm. Right. I'm really happy with the way that Stadia seems to be approaching the platform as a whole. It would be really nice if those things were available at launch. But that's kind of the thing, is that they have this detailed roadmap that has kind of individual weeks in a very Chrome style release structure, where people who are invested in this platform are going to see it not just improve over time, but improve rapidly over time. And so it's hard to, as a general rule, I review something based on what's in front of me, not on what the promise of it is. And so it kind of makes it difficult for me to be excited and critical at the same time. But that's where I am. I'm the way that this is being described is something that I'm very eager to see play out. But what you have in front of you right now is kind of hard to recommend.
Yeah.
That was going to be my next question, but I thought about just the gaming culture, if you will. The things that win in gaming are the social aspects, the achievements, being able to play with people all over the world, not just your neighbor, if you will. Do you see this coming down the pike for Stadia, and being able to have things like badges and achievements and just that whole social aspect of, I'm going to log in and I'm going to play Mortal Kombat against someone on PlayStation? Is that something that's potentially on the roadmap?
So this is actually kind of one of the fascinating things about Stadia feeling kind of unpolished right now, is there actually is an achievement system built into Stadia, but there is no UI for it yet. So while you are playing the game, you are actually unlocking achievements, but it won't be until that UI shows up that you'll actually be able to see what those achievements were that you unlocked, because it's not done yet. Online gameplay is also a big part of the way that Stadia was pitched to everyone at launch, including really my favorite feature of the platform, or that was announced as part of the platform, is the ability to start an online game and play, and actually be playing on something like YouTube Gaming, and have someone be able to pick up their controller and push a button and actually jump into play where you are, just from where they saw you. So they can actually click a link in YouTube and be able to join you specifically in that thing. And I think for gaming content creators, online gamers and programmers who want to be able to play with their audience instead of just at their audience, I think that's an incredibly powerful tool to be able to start an instance of Fortnite, for example, and have 60 of your closest followers or super followers or however it ends up being organized, be able to just jump in and play with you. That's one of the things that Stadia wants to do moving forward, and I think that from a social perspective is incredibly powerful.
Now, getting back to the debacle of the release, who is Google having to answer to? Because maybe this could have been rolled out in 2 weeks from now at the start of December or something like that, and it may have been a little more polished. But getting it out early and rushing it like this, it seems like it would sort of upset the people that have invested into the company and saying, hey, we want this thing to go out there and get rave reviews and people not be upset with us, but yet you're still just rolling out beta quality products
or alpha quality.
It's not good. Who is Google answering to? Or is this just the typical MO of Google? Your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's actually really unclear, and one of the things that's important to keep in mind is that the Stadia team is actually not built of the kind of typical Google engineering force. These are gaming industry veterans.
All right.
You're talking about people who are leading this team who have been part of the gaming world, responsible for launching major parts of the gaming world for a really long time, and so these are people who have very different experiences. So it's fascinating that we're so able to look at this and go, this is kind of a typical Google thing, but it's weird because the people responsible for it are not typical Google people. So it's really interesting to see how we kind of got the same result from different people. It's curious to know more about kind of the inner workings there that we don't currently have access to.
Yeah, I wonder how those meetings were going with them in upper management, just to be a fly on the wall and say, hey, we need to get this out. Because I doubt if someone's that passionate about their craft, they would rush it out, especially from the gaming standpoint and how popular it is, not just amongst the adults, but the young people that are out there really scraping up all of the cash of their parents, like my kids do, to make gaming as popular as it is.
Absolutely.
I guess my final question here is, who are the big players in this particular space, in the space of frictionless streaming gaming as it stands? And with that in mind, is Google sort of focusing on its own thing and just trying to roll out what it wants to make, or was this maybe brought to market sooner because of its direct competition in this space?
I think that this was absolutely brought to direct market sooner because of its only real competitor, which is Microsoft and Project xCloud. Microsoft is trying to put an Xbox on the internet so that you can play and have the entire Xbox experience from your phone. Not connected to a television, be able to specifically, connect your phone and be able to play these kind of online experiences. And their roadmap is really kind of impressive. Right now, it's a very similar setup in that you connect your phone and you can play wirelessly when you're on the go, and your mobile network is a big part of how that works. But it's also, there's also a lot of work being done in on-screen controls. Microsoft's control team is working on doing some really unique things with on-screen buttons so that you eventually don't need a controller if you don't want one. Which is important because as the team, they actually gave a presentation at GDC this year, and one of the things that they made really clear is that while people that are our age are used to having that kind of physical controller and playing the game, the first screen for a lot of people younger than us is the phone, and playing games on that glass is their comfort zone. So reaching people where they are, as this audience grows up and they want to play these higher quality games, being able to play in that space is really important. So it's really fascinating to see that the approach that these two organizations are taking are just really, really different. Google and Stadia seem to be very much focused on the current batch of online game players and how to meet them socially and create features that appeal to that audience. Whereas Microsoft's xCloud feels very much like putting the Xbox in the hands of people who maybe wouldn't have an actual physical Xbox in their room, but still want those experiences, and specifically targeting that younger audience in order to get there. That said, they're both, taking these higher quality games and putting them on mobile devices so that you kind of have that mobile gaming experience that is just much higher quality. And they're both approaching it from a really fascinating perspective, relying on just really intense server connections and high broadband needs in order to deliver it. And you end up with the same result. As long as you're sitting still, then it ends up being really fun. But for right now, neither one of them work particularly well while you're moving around. And then that's a problem that both teams are trying to solve right now.
Yeah, time will tell. Time will tell. Well, Mr. Holler, we really do appreciate you joining us today here on Tech News Weekly. Where can people follow up with you online and check out some of the content that you're creating?
I am at Russell Holly on pretty much everything, including Twitter, where I am usually the noisiest.
Thank you for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. All right, up next, we're going to take a look at how popular department store Macy's has made the tech news not once, but twice in just over a year. But first, let's thank this week's sponsor. This episode of Tech News Weekly is brought to you by FreshBooks. FreshBooks is an all-in-one small business invoicing and accounting solution system which helps make running your business a breeze. Automate your invoicing and always know at a glance just how much is outstanding and who has overdue invoices. You can make customizable invoices. You can even add your logo and colors and fonts just to personalize it to your own branding. You even have multi-language support for your invoices too. You can accept credit card payments. You can even send little reminders because sometimes you put that invoice out there and the client will just have it sort of sitting in their inbox and just tend to forget. So send a little friendly reminder and say, hey, you owe me some money. Track your time and rest peacefully, knowing just how productive you've been and how easy it's been going through your daily breakdowns of your books using FreshBooks. Bill for tracked hours and track time against clients or projects and more. Organize your expenses and say goodbye to the faded, torn, virtually useless receipts and keep them perfectly preserved and organized in FreshBooks. It's really easy to do that. Just snap a picture with your phone. I've done it quite often. Never lose another receipt. Just snap it with your phone and it'll automatically upload to your FreshBooks account. It's tax-friendly with categories. It helps you stay on budget with easy-to-use summaries that you can put out for all of your different reports at the end of the year. FreshBooks mobile apps makes following up with clients ridiculously easy. And if there's anything you don't understand, they have an award-winning customer service via phone, email, and live chat. when I use FreshBooks, I tend to use it more so for that actual uploading the receipts or just even taking payments right as I finish a job. It's so quick and easy to send that invoice from my phone to the client, and they can go ahead and pay me right then and there just by using an online credit card system. You can end 2019 on a high note and hit the ground running in 2020 with FreshBooks. Visit freshbooks.com/TNW and enter Tech News Weekly in the How Did You Hear About Us section to receive 30 free days. That's freshbooks.com/TNW and enter Tech News Weekly to receive 30 free days. Thank you, FreshBooks. All right. I don't know about you, Mr. Sargent, but I'm already seeing ads and emails about Black Friday and sales and sales and sales. It's the most wonderful time of the year for consumers and businesses this next coming week.
Mostly businesses, yeah.
So you're going to see all of the merchants gearing up and getting ready for the different promos and so forth. Now, as a Tech News Weekly listener, I'm sure all of you out there are gearing up your smart tech today to have your shopping carts automatically filled and be ready to hit submit. But please beware, folks. Please beware with all of the nefarious users out there on the internet. And because people are out there trying to harvest all of your private data at this time of the year, particularly all of your online payment information. So last month, popular department store Macy's was subject to an online attack known as a Mage cart. Jonathan Krieg of Tech Republic noted this attack that was in place. It was in place for about a week before Macy's even knew anything about it. So people were out there just shopping away, and they were getting their data just skimmed from this JavaScript injection, which is what a Mage cart attack is. So what comes to my mind with this holiday season is, what can I do to protect myself? And the second question is, what can the merchants do out there to protect themselves as well as protect customers like me out there shopping during Black Friday, holiday season, and so forth?
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot that we can do and some that we can't do, unfortunately. I'm trying to think, when I'm online looking for my Black Friday deals for bananas, I am trying to make sure that, I can come across something that
is by the bushel or by the pallet?
Well, it depends. Usually around Black Friday, it's by the pallet. Around Easter time, you can really get them by the bushel for pretty cheap. No, so what we talked about earlier,
right?
Password management. Now, this isn't going to save you in the instance of a JavaScript issue, but password management is a huge, important process that you should always have in place. And that means that you're using different passwords for different sites, that they're all strong, hard to decrypt passwords. Secondly, you have to be browsing via HTTPS.
Right.
You have got to be browsing that way.
Right.
If you go to at this point, if I'm at a site that wants any of my information at all, and it is not a site that is locked down with encryption, I'm not putting any information into that site, none at all. It needs to be the case that when there is a form for me to put information in, that is an HTTPS site. There are some sites where they will do just a normal HTTP site that's not locked down, not encrypted, and then just the sort of credit card information part is.
Yeah.
I don't even like that.
Yeah, that makes me a little bit leery too.
Yeah.
Because it seems like that handshake could always be broken.
Right. It makes me too. I need that stuff to be locked down through and through. I think the other important thing, of course, is making sure that you always have the latest updates for your different systems, depending on where you browse. And honestly, for me, it's shopping. If I'm doing online shopping, it's shopping at places that I trust. And so shopping at places that have proven to me time and time again that they're protecting my data,
right,
and keeping it secure. And when a site or service fails to protect my data, it's very hard to regain that trust. It's kind of like in a relationship.
Dunzo.
If you lose trust, it's very hard to regain that trust. Yeah, dunzo, exactly. I don't know, though, as far as the merchant side of things, because we see too often how merchants are more concerned about the bottom line than they are about protecting data.
They're so concerned about the bottom line, but they have the resources to protect data. They're making a ton of money, and they have the resources to go ahead and invest in better security for their infrastructure and their databases and so forth. But the first thing that comes to my mind outside of what the merchants can do is, personally, I use burner cards online. I will make the extra effort to go and pick up little burner credit cards and use that for my online purchases. Now, granted, we do have a sponsor, Privacy, on privacy.com on the network.
Yes.
That you put me on to.
Yes. It's so great.
It's a great service where they basically will mimic your credit card and give you a phony credit card number that links to your funding source, but it keeps you a little more secure and doesn't have your real bank information out there or your real credit card information out there, and it has a bunch of other little security items built right in. But that's one thing that I thought about, is just make sure you're not just putting all of your data out there.
Right. Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit of an effort, but it's going to be worth it in the long run, just in case you get compromised.
So speaking on that, I see a question in the chat about charge for burner cards. So when we're talking about privacy.com, the cool thing about it, so for one, and we should note, like, that's why people use credit cards a lot, because there are more protections federally on fraud whenever it comes to credit cards. And so you often, even if your credit card was stolen, there's a bunch of what is essentially insurance and protecting your credit card purchases from fraud. But for privacy.com, you link up your bank account, and I think it's and I don't have the information in front of me, but I think it's like the first 10 cards or 10 cards a month, there's no extra charge.
None whatsoever.
You create a card, and it you choose to link it. So say, for example, you want to use it with Amazon. The first time you use it with Amazon, it immediately becomes locked to Amazon. That one card can only be used for purchases on Amazon. And if ever someone tries to take that card number and use it anywhere else, you'll get a push notification saying, hey, this card was exposed somehow, and it won't let them make a charge because it's only working for Amazon.
Right.
Now, if they did make a charge on Amazon, if they somehow got your card and then reused it on Amazon, you would also get a push notification if you have it set up to say, oh, there was a charge here. You can dispute that charge. You can make sure that goes away. You can also pause the card anytime you want. You can delete the card anytime you want. You can set a limit for how much can be charged in a given month, or you can set it to only charge one time. Right. So that's the big thing, like the true burner card system, where I've got a car, or I want to make a purchase, and maybe it is on one of those sites that seem to be, it's not one of my main sites. So I go to Macy's, and I know, like, this pair of fuzzy bunny slippers I can only get at Macy's.com, and I don't feel good about the site because it got Mage Cart JavaScript injected, and so I don't want to run the risk. Right, so I make that purchase. I have it as a burner card. After that one purchase, that card is no longer good. That number is no longer good for anything else. It can only be used that one time. And so I'm good to go there. I don't have to worry about my information being taken. So yeah, the burner card idea is a great idea. And I think it's just, I think that we have to be resilient to the apathy that sometimes takes place when these breaches happen. We need to not let these companies just sort of, get away with it, if so to speak. So when these things happen, I think a lot of times your everyday person sort of is like, well, this happened, they'll probably do something to fix it. And whatever it is within our power to not be apathetic about it is the best bet, because making some noise there and demanding that your information is protected, or I'm going to take my business elsewhere, is one of the best things that we can do as consumers, I think, to get those merchants to protect our data better.
Macy's took a big hit financially from a stock share standpoint. They took a big hit because, again, this was their second time being breached in just over a year. So it's sort of sending a message right there that, hey, we're not buying into this anymore. You guys need to fix your stuff and make this holiday season, heck, just shopping in general, not just holiday season, make the shopping in general a lot more secure and better for the consumers out there. What are you looking forward to with Black Friday? You already ready? You already have all of your smart tech ready to hit? Confirm.
I'm kind of bad about Black Friday, / Black Thursday / Black Wednesday / you know what I mean? It's every single day.
Well, maybe I should ask Mr. Casanelli. He probably has all the recipes out there.
He's got a bunch of recipes set to order everything. Yeah, I don't tend to sort of I'm not going to say fall victim because that makes it sound like people, I'm not judging you if you love the Black Friday stuff. I don't know. It's kind of a bummer to me. It reminds me of how consumerist everything is, and it's kind of a bummer. So yeah, I don't really do Black Friday all that much. I try to just bury my head in the sand around that time.
Oh my gosh. I did not mean to bring us down.
It's okay. I'll have a sip of scotch and we'll be fine.
Yeah, and pie.
And pie. Oh God, I'll have some pie. Can we have some pie right now, please?
Please and thank you.
All right. We're just going to go have some pie. We'll see you later. Up next, if you're an iOS user, you've probably noticed a slight uptick in the number of updates you've had to install. Turns out there's a reason for that. We'll talk about that soon. But first, this episode of Tech News Weekly is brought to you by Worldwide Technology. WWT began building their Advanced Technology Center, that's ATC, about 10 years ago, and it has grown exponentially. It's like no other testing and research lab. The lab contains more than $500 million in equipment from hundreds of OEMs, ranging from heavyweights like Cisco, NetApp, and VMware to emerging disruptors like Tanium, Equinix, and Expanse. WWT is a trusted partner who stays with you over the years. Many of their customers have been with them for over a decade because they know WWT is where they can go to get the answers they need to make sure their business runs right. Their ATC is an incubator for IT innovation and offers on-demand and schedulable labs like Cisco ACI segmentation migration and hundreds of other labs representing the newest advances in endpoint security architecture, software-defined networking, network automation, primary and secondary storage. You can learn about products before you launch. WWT's engineers use these environments to quickly spin up proofs of concept and pilots using the sandbox so customers can confidently select the best solutions. In many cases, this reduces concept time from months to weeks, which of course increases speed to market. They offer, quote, lab as a service, a dedicated lab space within the ATC. Here, customers can perform programmatic testing using the vast technology ecosystem that WWT has already built. And it's virtual, so you can take full advantage of ATC's unique benefits anywhere in the world 24/7. WWT engineers work in these labs every day, beta testing new equipment and building reference architectures and custom integrations to help their customers make decisions and see results faster and with much less investment. WWT has launched their new digital platform encompassing the ATC ecosystem. This ecosystem creates a multiplier effect of knowledge, speed, and agility anytime, anywhere around the world for their customers. You can get access to articles, case studies, hands-on labs, and other tools that make the difference in today's fast-paced world. To learn more about WWT, the ATC, and to sign up for access to their new on-demand lab platform, just go to wwt.com/twit and create an account today. WWT, it simplifies the complex. That's wwt.com/twit. WWT, delivering business and technology outcomes around the world. So, as I mentioned, there have been a lot of iOS updates. I think we've made one too many jokes on iOS today, Leo and I. Did you get a new iOS update? Oh, what about iPadOS? Yeah. There have been a lot of updates lately. And that I've seen as a net positive thing. So, to me, what that means is Apple is, instead of doing these slow rollouts where you kind of get iOS 13, say, and then in 3 to 4 months, you get iOS 13.1, and then you maybe get a 13.2 before the next year rolls around and it goes to 14. That is a long period of time. Right. And the argument so far has been that because there were few bugs that needed to be fixed and Apple doesn't tend to introduce too many new features between big point release or big, number releases, that there was no need for it. But I've always appreciated Android's, the way that they do with Google Play services sort of roll out updates regularly.
Once a month.
Yeah. And I kind of like that idea. It's not a Patch Tuesday, but it's this idea that there's always things that can be improved. And so an update would be great to have whenever there's something that needs improving. But there's an article that was just published this morning in Bloomberg by Mark Gurman, and it's called Inside Apple's iPhone Software Shakeup After Buggy iOS 13 Debut. So essentially, Craig Federighi, who's the software chief at Apple, his team.
With the magnificent hair.
Yes, that's Air Force One. He spoke to developers at Apple, to engineers at Apple, and said, look, we're going to do an overhaul of things. We're going to make it so that stuff that we're testing that is super buggy or that is not ready for prime time, there's going to be ways to switch that or switch off by default. And the only way to gain access to it is with internal tools that switch it on, and then you can play around with it as you're testing it.
I dig that.
Yeah, I think that's great.
Why not?
That makes sense. And to come along with that is, of course, updating more consistently and making it so that you can have iOS. And what they talk about here, I like this word. They have a word called livable. And what they want to do is make early internal iOS updates livable, meaning that you can use the software on a daily basis without running into bugs. Because if folks internally are able to use this software regularly, then they can find other bugs and other issues that are there.
Also known as dog fooding.
Yes, yes. Chew it up, eat it up, yummy, yummy. It's grain and it's meat and whatever else is in dog food. This isn't supposed
to be here. Roll it back.
Right. Get those carrots out of my dog food. What are you doing? I want yams. Is that what they put in dog food? I don't know.
Yes.
Thank you. Yes. Yes, and is how that goes. So I like this idea of making sure that the platform is usable internally for dog fooding, and that you're not so... If you don't shut off those really buggy features, then of course those are the things you're going to focus on because they're going to be the biggest bugs. But it's often those things that they're not seeing that end up being the huge issue. And so there was a bunch of problems with... message searches early on in iOS 13. There were some issues where there were promised the promised inclusion of like iCloud folder sharing. So iCloud is of course Apple's sort of Dropbox system, and you were supposed to be able to create a folder and share a link to that folder with folks that you wanted to, and then you could gain access to it like you do on Dropbox.
Right.
That was not taking place because of syncing errors. And so there have been a lot of features that have been delayed. Some are still not even there to this day, despite the fact that they were announced to be part of iOS 13. So as a regular iOS, iPadOS, watchOS, tvOS, macOS user, this all is a sweet, sweet symphony for me. I want these more stable updates in iOS 14, but more importantly, I like that idea of dog fooding. I'm curious, for you,
right,
as an Android user, with more regular updates, does it take away the fun of sort of hearing about new features and then finally getting access to new features?
No, not at all. Because when I know my phone or any of my devices are being updated, the first thing that comes to my mind is security. They're looking at security and making sure it's stable and it's not going to crash or have some type of hole where someone can get in and take data. Because that's all that's been happening for the last couple of years is a security leak that allowed someone access to my contacts or access to whatever. So if they're doing this stuff on a regular basis and going through it with a fine-tooth comb, keep updating. Have at it. My question to you is, who is complaining about all of these updates? Is it just the regular day-to-day consumer? Is it the person that's out there trying to run a business? Why would people even complain about monthly updates that happen? Why would people even complain about, you know what, hey, we found a problem, we need to fix this right now. Boom, they push the fix out.
Yeah.
Well, what person is complaining about such a thing?
So I don't know if the right word here is complain. Literally, with every normal person that I talk to, and by normal, I mean not super steeped in technology.
I get it.
With every person, my family, my friends, new people that I've met, quite literally just a couple weekends ago, I saw someone who we were like looking at something on the laptop. The little update came up to say, hey, there's a new update ready to install. Dismiss. Dismiss. Same thing on iOS. They know that the update's available, but they don't want to take the time to run that update. And so I don't think it's necessarily complaining that these updates are here. It's just not updating in the first place.
Wow.
And so the fact that it's popping up more often, you're getting more notifications saying, hey, you should update. Hey, you should update. And it seems the joke is among those of us who cover iOS and all these different platforms is the only thing that can get the average user to update to a new version of iOS is if Apple says, hey, there are new emoji you can use.
New features, yeah.
Yeah, there are new emoji you can use.
And I don't think that would be just the Apple side of things. That's probably any platform.
I would imagine. Yeah. So the average user is after the new feature because why would they take, for them, using the phone and having access to it for whatever it is that they're doing, messaging, texting, phone calls, who does that, Snapchatting, whatever, to have to stop being able to do that while they wait for their phone to do this thing and they don't see the benefit. Right. I understand why they don't feel the need to want to update and wait for that process to go.
I have to say I respect Apple's tactic of mentioning emojis because it makes me think of my days in IT when I needed the users to read the email. I put Facebook in the subject line.
That's so great.
Every single time.
And it worked?
COO and CEO didn't like me doing that, but I had to prove to them I got results.
Yes. Oh my goodness. From now on, I'm sending all of my tweets with Facebook.
Say Facebook in it, and I bet that engagement will go up.
That's hilarious. Oh man. But yeah, I think overall this trend of more regular updates and a way to sort of get folks to internally to pay more attention to it is a great thing. So check out Bloomberg, Mark Gurman's article about this. Inside Apple's iPhone software shakeup after buggy iOS 13 debut.
That's a mouthful of a headline.
That is, yeah. What does that mean? How do I parse that? I don't know. The point is, things are going to get better, and here's why there are so many updates on iOS. Gotcha. Folks, Tech News Weekly publishes every Thursday at twit.tv/TNW. That's where you go to subscribe to the show in audio and video formats. You just head there. You'll see links to the different ways that you can subscribe, be it Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or if you are one of those newfangled folks who subscribes to podcasts on YouTube, respect. True respect. We appreciate it. So you can head there too and be sure to like and subscribe.
Right. And you can be a part of the show by emailing us at tnw@twit.tv. And you can also follow us on the socials. I am @_Pruitt on the Twitterverse.
Beautiful. You can also follow @Twit on Twitter and @twit.tv on Instagram. I think we have just posted some early looks, some early shots of the holiday photos we took. Good times.
Boy, was that an interesting scene.
Good times had by all, truly.
Not going to mention Mr. Burke at all. Nope.
Oh, yeah. Grumpy Gills. You've got to check out the photo for sure. But that's, again, @Twit on Twitter, @twit.tv on Instagram, and also head to twit.community and sign up there. Those are the forums where, even if you're not watching the show live, which you can do by going to twit.tv/live, even if you're not watching live, then after you listen to the episode, you can share your thoughts there as well. I am @Mikah Sargent on pretty much all of the social platforms. And thanks, of course, to our excellent studio helpers. I don't know what to say. Usually we write in everybody's names, but Jeff and Burke and John and whoever was from continuity that checked stuff today. Was it Sarah?
It's all of the squad that makes us look and sound good.
You know what? Thanks to the whole continuity team for their help as well. We do appreciate it. And I mean that even though I didn't check who it was today. So it was Ashley. Thank you, Ashley.
Right.
Thank you. But yeah, that's going to do it for us. So we'll see you next time on Tech News Weekly. Oh, and by the way, when we say next time, we mean next time, because it's Turkey Day next time we would be doing Tech News Weekly. So, yeah. Gobble, gobble.